Argentina suffered through what many called the Dirty War. It was a period of time when a brutal military junta ruled the country. The dictatorship cracked down on suspected dissidents and others, including opposition figures and innocent civilians. They were taken by the government, where some were tortured in secret prisons and eventually killed. This campaign claimed the lives of at least 9,000 people.
You're doing
but
good.
what does this have to do with the Pope? Two Jesuit clerics who were working among the poor in Buenos Aires' slums were kidnapped by the military government, and some have said Pope Francis is partially to blame for their targeting. Some accused him of being complicit with the government when he didn't publicly endorse the two priests' work, but the Vatican and the Pope himself have strongly denied this claim. Years later, he acknowledged that he made mistakes during his time in leadership in Argentina, and said it was because he was, quote, put into the job too early. But despite this troubling incident, he largely is seen as a spiritual leader of the people. Some have characterized him as a humble man, someone who once took public buses and cooked his own meals during his time as a leader. That humble, mild-mannered temperament and his goal of refocusing the church's efforts to helping the poor is what set him apart, leading him to his next role in the church. On March 13, 2013, a billow of white smoke rose above the Sistine Chapel. That was the moment when Jorge Mario Bergoglio became known as Pope Francis. He became the 266th leader of the Roman Catholic Church.
God help us all.
His leadership would bring in a new wave of firsts for the Vatican.
The
He was
false
the first pope
prophet.
from Latin America, the first Jesuit, and the first non-European in over 1,000 years. He said he wanted to shift the church's priority to helping the poor and the marginalized. He was seen as a reformer, someone who wanted to push the Catholic Church forward. He made relatively supportive comments about the LGBTQ community in 2013, saying, quote, if someone is gay and he searches for the Lord and has goodwill, who am I to judge? He's argued of the growing dangers of climate change, argued the death penalty is inadmissible, and gave priests the right to forgive abortions, a medical procedure that would have automatically resulted in the excommunication from the church. But these signs of change didn't sit well with some conservatives in the church. One of the most notable challenges to his authority and reforms came from the Vatican ambassador to the United States, Cardinal Carlo Maria Vigano. Vigano, a staunch anti-gay member of the church, arranged a meeting between Camp Davis, a controversial Kentucky official who refused to marry gay couples, and the Pope without his knowledge. A few months later, Pope Francis accepted Vigano's resignation.
On Wednesday, Pope Francis met with leaders of different Christian denominations and also with heads of other religions. The group came to Rome precisely to attend his inaugural Mass. The group was in Rome to attend his inaugural Mass. The leader of the Orthodox Church, Bartholomew I, greeted the Pope and said his humility will bring the Christian message across to a lot of people.
La scelta